You're listening to Cultivating Joy at Home, hosted by Leisha Trejo from LeishaTrejo.com, where we seek joy from God, not the world. This is more than a podcast. It is a community where we equip women who boldly seek joy in their lives that is unshakable and unstoppable, so that they can experience God's joy in every season, because they are counting on the joy of the Lord to be their strength to get them through. Let's start the show. Hi, my name is Leisha. Welcome back to my channel. I am the host of Cultivating Joy at Home. In today's episode, I would like to talk about why we should praise and worship. Yes, it is very important, and I'm going to give you 5 reasons why we should praise and worship. Right off the bat, when I think about praising and worship, I feel that it can be difficult to praise and worship. Especially when you're going through a hard time, or it's just one of those days and you're like, I don't feel like doing much of anything, let alone praise and worship. So I always reflect and think about Job. Job, he experienced and he went through a lot. He went through so much. And I think about when he was, but in chapter 13, how he said, though he slay me, yet I will trust in him. So even so, I will defend my own ways before him. And contrary to what many people believe, they believe that he was at a joyful place, and he was not. And he was continually articulating to God, like strongly protesting to God, like, why me? Why am I suffering, God? Can you relate? I can, because when a certain situation is going on, I am like, why me, God? I'm doing the right things. Why am I going through this? It's not fair. I'm throwing my pity party. Have you been there? Yep. I'm going to keep on saying, have you been there? Because I really want you to relate, because I don't want to feel like I'm alone in this struggle, because the struggle is real. It's really real. Job went through so much loss and the most heartbreaking loss and the deepest pains. He lost family members. He lost wealth. He lost land. He lost so many things right after another. But what is so amazing about Job is he questioned God, and he was protesting to God, but he was still with God. And that's what it's all about when you have a relationship with God. It's okay to question him. It's okay to ask, like, why, God? He is still going to be there so mercifully and gracious, and he's going to answer those. Well, maybe he won't answer those questions the way you want him to answer those questions, but he is there. And what is so beautiful about it is he has a way to have you want more, and he will even help you trust him all along. Because Job was in a very hard place. He lost so much. And even though he continually articulated a strong protest to God because of his sufferings, he had such unwavering devotion. And that must be the foundation of proper praise and worship. It just has to be. Seeking God in our deepest pains, most heartbreaking losses is a hard place to be. We have to be vulnerable. And I don't know about you, but who wants to be vulnerable? It's not the business sometimes. Because the world teaches us you have to be strong, you have to be independent, you can take care of yourself, all you have to do is some self-care, blah, 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 blah. But we both know that ain't it. Because if it was it, why is culture, and why is everyone
that is applying this rule or making the effort to
not happy or not receiving and having the results that is promised if you're doing the self-care, if you're doing the independence, and if you're being strong? Why is it not working? I tell you why it's not working. Because it's relying strictly on yourself or themselves. And that's just not the way it works. It's not. We are human beings. We are innately built for community. The independence thing doesn't work in all situations. It just don't. I hate to bear the bad news, but it doesn't. Sometimes we get the answers we want when we bring our deepest pains and suffering to God, and other times we don't. We don't understand it. And that can be very frustrating. Yet through everything, he has a way, and we get more reasons to trust him, to love him, and to praise him. I love how he does that. Can you think of a time that he has come through for you, and when you were in the midst of suffering, and you just know that he had his hand on you, that he was there with you? If you don't, look back. You'll be surprised. If not, have an expectant heart that he will. In our deepest pains, I like when he says, though you slay me, yet I will praise you. Though you take from me, I will bless your name through. Though you ruin me, still I will worship. Sing a song to the one who all I need. That is a song. And it's an inspirational song by Shane Bernard. Though you slay me. And let me have it for you one more time. I'm not going to sing it for you. Well, maybe I will. No, I won't. Though you slay me, yet I will praise you. Though you take from me, I will bless your name. Though you ruin me, still I will worship. Sing a song to the one who's all I need. I like that. I like those lyrics. How about you? And that song was born at a hard place for that person, for Shane. It was one of the hardest moments of his life. He remembers when his father passed away in the hospital, and his mom was laying on the floor next to the hospital bed. And she was wailing. And in the most painful moment of tears, the whole family turned their hearts to God in worship. Though you slay me, yet I will praise you. By no means does it mean that our pain is reduced when we praise and worship God, because it's not. This year alone, I have experienced so much loss, so much change. It was moments I was like, why me, Lord? But something rose up in me because I knew that this too shall pass. This storm shall pass. And just like the last storm, he was there for me. And he was there with me this storm. With tears running down my face, my heart literally feeling like it was breaking, I yelled and I said, Lord, I trust you. And I will praise you in the storm. I will praise you still. I don't care. I will praise you. This situation, you will get me through, just like you did last time. And the time before that, and the time before that, and this pain and this change and this death. And it felt like my family was breaking and falling apart. But I knew who the glue is. I knew who our strong foundation is. Because as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. That's just the way it was. And even though it hurt, I still wanted for the burden to be lifted, the sickness to be gone, and the persecution to end, the loss restored, and the circumstances, the hurtful circumstances gone. Just like Job, the anguish of allegiance is what Job was going through, what I was going through, and I'm quite sure you have gone through. The situation is still the same.
Women with Joy is a prestigious membership community for Christian women who are looking for how to know joy, live joy, and keep their joy alongside a community of understanding journey women with a Christian mindset. Have you ever felt lost to the path to God in joy and don't know where you stand or where to start a fruitful life? With God, some may believe that it's impossible to have joy in the storm. God didn't give you the desire or faith goal for you to carry through without His direction. Are you tired of doing it in your own strength? Yet Proverbs 27:17 says, "Iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another." Having a life full of joy in every season is absolutely possible. Connect with the women in this community and learn practical steps that I, Laisha, and my Women of Joy team will teach you. Join now for a free Women with Joy community at womenwithjoy.com. Again, womenwithjoy.com.
He is the same God yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And He got our backs. And we can take that to the bank. For real, for real. Praise and worship is very important. Worship is not just songs, sermons, and rhyming words. It's heartfelt, boiling adoration from our hearts to the Lord of Lords, to the King of Kings, to the great I am, to the Alpha Omega, Him. And it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle that matters to God and us as well. Expression we give from worship-filled lifestyles. We see faithful servants throughout the Bible who worship God despite being in very, very tough situations in the Bible, still worship Him. Think about the Hebrew boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Did I say his name right? Well, you know what I mean. Praise God even when they were thrown into the fire. Look at Esther. Esther stood to fight for the nation of Israel during a very sensitive time. What did she do? She fasted. She told everybody, fast with me. What did she say? The verse says that she said, "Go gather all the Jews who are present in Shoshan and fast for me. Neither eat nor drink, nor for 3 days, night or day. My maids and I will fast likewise. And so I will go to the king, which is against the law. And if I perish, I perish." Esther 4:15-16. They did it. Even when their life was on the line, even when they didn't understand what was going on, they were still faithful and they were still worshiping and praising. And we can do it too. So why should we worship? Number one, if you're taking notes, worship put our faith in God. Worship and adoration are birthed by the innate desire to honor God. It is nearly impossible to worship God in truth and spirit without a personal revelation of Him. When we worship, we confirm our faith to the supernatural God. It involves something greater than our preferences and our priorities. And that's why worship puts our faith in God. Number 2, worship involves sacrifice. Ooh, don't it? Worship involves sacrifice. And we can all sing and dance about the goodness of God when all the things are going just right, when everything is good and mellow, everything is cool, friend. Ooh, life is great. What? We just got off a vacation. Everything is going well at work. However, true worship will bubble out of our hearts despite the horror of our circumstances. When things are not going right, when things are not going our way, that wayward child of ours is acting a fool. When our spouse or even us are talking about divorce, that's when it involves sacrifice to worship. And I know, I've been divorced twice and I got 5 kids. Yeah. This is when the mortgage company leaves letters and messages of loan payments. That car note may not be getting paid when it's on the verge of repossession, when bankruptcy is maybe an option, when we can't not see God's goodness from either side of us. It feels like we're by ourselves. Praising God during those times, during this time, calls for a sacrificial praise. That is worship that involves sacrifice. When you don't feel like it, when you will praise Him even in the storm. Number 3, worship gets us out of our zone. Worship get us out of our zone, get out of our comfort zone, get out of our heads and just worship. I went to an all-girl Catholic school. I was raised in the Episcopal Church. I love that I had different perspectives of church when I was growing up because one grandmother was Baptist, the other grandmother was basically Catholic. So it was a lot. It was different. So you was clapping in one, praising the Lord in one, and then you were sitting down and kneeling in the other. But that's neither here nor there. I say this and I share this just because I was more tend to just kind of like sit there and just kneel. Nothing's wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. Nothing's wrong with that. Everyone worships in their own way. I remember that God was calling me to another level. Like I was not reserved anymore. I was a lot. I am a lot when I praise and worship. I mean, I'm crying, I'm kneeling one minute, I'm standing up, stretching my hands in the sky and jumping even. I don't know. It's a lot. But our worship of God is not based on His performance. Praise is never a reward that we give to God. It's as if it's a token of our appreciation. That's not what it is. Our desire to honor God fuels us to remove our worries, our fears, our opinions, our questions out of the way so that we can lift the name of God with honor. And staying in our zones hinders that. Staying in our reserve to look picture perfect changes that. It can sometimes cause us to miss out on the real experience of worship. And it goes back to what I was sharing with you before, was how I never know when I'm worshiping God, my reaction or whatever. And I'm glad because it takes me out of my head. It's genuine. It's not a show. It's not a performance. It's really sitting at my Father's feet and showing my adoration for him. However I do it. If it's crying, jumping up and down, laying flat on the floor, whatever it is, it's me pouring my heart out to worship him and getting out of my own head. And I suggest you try it. Number 4, worship signifies surrender. It signifies surrender. My friend, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all he has done for you, all he has done for me. Let it be a living, holy sacrifice, the kind he will find acceptable. And this is truly the way to worship him. It truly is. Romans 12:1 says, true worship produces surrender. It acts like a magnet that draws all those lost to Christ. This reminds me of a quote by the founder of the Salvation Army, William Booth. If a church is on fire for God, people for miles will come to watch it. When the believers practice authentic worship, all men are drawn to it. They're like moths to the flame of Christ's worship. They're wondering, what is it? It's so unique. It's so different. It's so pure. And they want a piece of that. So I encourage you, surrender it all. And it's going to be difficult. Sometimes you're going to take it back. Well, speaking for myself, I take it back. But when you lay it all down to the Father's feet, then it's good. It's a weight off. Don't you want to feel lighter? Don't you want to release the burdens and the cares and the worries? I do. So that's number 4, surrender. And last and not least is number 5, worship to celebrate God. Celebrate him. We celebrate God for who he is and what he has done through worship. We celebrate that nothing happens outside of his plan. Nothing. Absolutely nothing happens outside of his plan. And worship affirms that all the things work together for the good for those called according to his purposes. According to God's purposes. Celebrate him. Think about all of the things that he has done for you, your family, your friends, and celebrate him. Because it could have been a whole lot different. In today's episode, my hope is for you to worship and praise God. It puts our faith in God. And it's going to take sacrifice. And then we're going to have to get out of our own heads. We're going to have to get out of our zones. We're going to have to surrender. We're going to have to celebrate him. And it's my hope that we will do just that. Until next episode, my friends. Bye.
You've been listening to Cultivating Joy at Home podcast, hosted by Laisha Trejo. We welcome you to tune in every season. Make sure to visit our website at laishatrejo.com. YouTube channel, Laisha Trejo. Join the Cultivating Joy at Home movement where you will know joy, keep joy, live joy on Facebook and Instagram. Be sure to share with your friends. Please subscribe to our show and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, friends, thanks for listening. Bye-bye.